So my name is Mama T, and I come from Front Porch Conjure, and that's the name of my establishment. And I'm going to be teaching about osteomancy today, which is a form of divination, and it's using bones, curios, and shells. Now, I'm just curious, who here has ever had a bone reading? Raise your hand. Wow, that's impressive. Okay, yay. So that's great because, like, when I first started, like, very few people had ever had a bone reading or even knew what a bone reading was. So what it is it helps us get in touch with the ancestors. So it's like a type of mediumship, and it's very primal. So it's very earth-based. So, and I like it because it's the oldest form of divination out there. It's before the cards. It's before dominoes. It's like one of the oldest forms of divination, and I love that. And unlike the tarot, it gets very specific. It can answer very specific questions, and not just one question. It can answer multiple questions. So it can work answers about work, love, communication, wealth, job, anything, like any health, anything that you have questions about, it can answer. And sometimes what you want an answer for, you don't necessarily get. Sometimes the spirits are like, no, they need to hear about this instead. So that's why I like it being so much because it's so specific. Okay. Now, one of the main questions I get is, can I do, or you do, bone readings? And the answer is yes. And the reason why is because it comes from multiple different places. It comes from China. It comes from Europe. It comes from the Appalachians. It comes from Louisiana. It comes from Tennessee. So, like, it's very, so to know that it comes from multiple ethnic places, that means, like, yes, you can do it. Now, a lot of times I get the question, how do I know if I can do it? Not just necessarily like, okay, I'm interested, now I know it's not based on gender or ethnicity. So just know that, like, anybody can do it. So how you know you can do it is if you're kind of like a magpie, and if you like to pick up little things, and you have like a little pile of trinkets at home, like if you have an acorn and like a little horseshoe charm, or a bone from a cat that passed away, or like little things like that, then you can be a bone reader. That means you are naturally drawn to this because you're already collecting your bone set. Okay? So if you need that affirmation, can I do this? There's your affirmation that you can do this. Okay? So in Tennessee itself, bone reading is been very thick in its history, and not many people actually know that. Now, I'm a native of Nashville. I grew up and was raised here, and so like it was important for me to know, like, can I do this, right? Because I didn't want to do something I'm not supposed to do, out of respect. And that should be part of it. So, like, Dolly Parton has this song, and it's called These Old Bones. Okay? And I just want to read you just a few little lines from it, okay? These old bones will tell you your story. These old bones will never lie. These bones will tell you surely what you see with your eye. These old bones I shake and rattle. These old bones I toss and roll. And it's all where they scatter tells you what the future holds. So, and I like that because I love Dolly Parton. And it's nice to know that it's native. And so that's why it really, really resonates with me. And what was really interesting about Dolly is that she went to a bone reader when she was really young. And that's where her fame started, is because she went to a bone reader and she told her in the bone reading, you're going to be famous. And told her that she's going to be doing music. So, and that's where her start began. And that's why she wrote that song. Because she wanted other people to know. This is where she started from. This is her ethnicity. So, and I love that. Absolutely love that. Okay. Sorry.
Never been anything.
And it's really, I like bringing, local history to what I teach. And I'm very hands-on, and you'll see that in a minute when I do that. And I've been teaching in one form or way for over 15 years. And I've been doing bone readings itself for 13 years. So a little backstory for me is my origin story, how I came across bone reading. Oddly enough, I was going through a really bad divorce. And I had to regroup, like we all do when we go through a hard time. We've all been there. And so I was like, well, shit. I'm gonna have to start over, and I'm gonna have to go back to college. Now, I had already had a degree in teaching, but I wanted to go back for psychiatry. So I went to TSU. Now, why did I go to TSU? Because it is an HBC college, which means it's a historical black college. And my grandmother went there. So I wanted to walk down the same halls as my grandmother did. And she went there when she was 65 to get her doctorate degree in early education. And you might ask, why are you talking about your grandmother? Well, because this is about ancestors, right? So it's important to me to incorporate the ancestors in my teaching. And because she was a teacher as well. She was an early education teacher. So when I went to TSU and going to my classes, I was like, okay, I'm taking statistics and all these hard classes, right? And I was like, I need to fill it up with some easy classes. So I thought. It was not easy at all. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take Africana Studies. And so I took one class. First day of the class was really interesting. And I'm getting up here because back there is harder for me. So when I went to the class, I was like, very first class, the professor said, okay, do a paper on Africana Studies. And I was like, well, crap. I don't want to do what everybody else has done. I don't want to do it on the pyramids. I just want to do something different, and I want to be respectful about it. And so I went up to the teacher after class and said, excuse me, sir, can you recommend a topic for me? So he puts his hand in his pocket and starts jiggling it, okay, very aggressively, mind you. And I thought he was playing with himself. I was like, oh crap. And then he threw a bunch of bones on the table. And I was like, okay. And then he was adamant and really upset. He was like, oh hell no. And but he used a lot more expressive words than I can say. But and he picked them up again, put them in his pocket, and again, jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. I was like, I kept creeping closer to the door because I was scared. It was the first day, first class, and he went again, and he was like, And again, he was so pissed off. He was like, oh, hell no. And he was using the F-bombs all over the place. Okay? And it was really crazy. And then he put his hand in the pocket again. And I'm like, okay, I'm by the door at this point. Because I was like, this old man's going to hurt me or something. And he did it again. And he threw it on. He's like, I want you to do a paper on this. I was like, what the hell is that? Because I didn't know. I just had no idea. So, so I did the paper. Got an A on the paper. Then I went up to him and said, okay, well, I really enjoy this paper, but I feel like I'm missing an aspect of it. Like, I wanted the hand-on experience. I wanted to feel the bones. I wanted to touch the bones. I wanted that experience because it is an experience. And I feel like everybody should have that experience at least once in your life. Okay? So, that's kind of the origin story of how I got into bone reading. So, and he took me under his wing, and it ended up he was a babalo. So, and I kept with him for 2 years. So I got taught with him for 2 years, and he did not make it easy. Let me tell you. And it ended up, as we got to know each other, it was like after the first year, he was like, I've been meaning to tell you something. And I was like, what? You reminded me of this old lady I used to have in my class. And it turns out he had my grandmother. So I was like, okay. I knew I was where I was supposed to be. And that's why bone reading is so important to me. Because I felt like my grandmother put me there for that reason. And I was walking down those halls for a reason. And to have him as my teacher was a blessing in disguise. So that's the origin story. So now let's get back to the actual fun part. Okay.
That was pretty fun.
Well, well, he was saying hell no because he didn't want to have to teach me. Yeah, because he was like, no offense, okay? He was like, oh hell no, this is a white girl. I don't want to have to teach a white girl. And I was like being respectful, and but he just kept doing it, and he was like, he goes, I keep trying to get away from you. He would tell me this all the time. He goes, but you're like a magnet. He goes, I can't ignore you, and he's like, and he was like, you have to do this. From here on out, you have to do this.
No, people were telling you have to.
Yeah. And and I have the teaching gene in me. My mom was a teacher. My grandmother was a teacher. I'm a teacher during the day. So to me, and plus I do teaching at events as well. So it was just kismet. Everything just matched. Okay.
That's great.
Thank you. But so I brought what I consider a beginning kit. Okay, and I have 21 pieces. And you might ask why 21? Because 3 and 7 are really important, and the number 21 is for 21 divisions in the ATRs. Okay, so it's very important. That's why I picked 21 pieces. And I also was taught under Michelle Jackson. And she's actually has a show and tell bone group. And she featured my set because it was she said it was perfectly done. So to me, to have an author say okay, you got this down, that was an affirmation to me. So let's talk about it. So the most important bone in a kit, and if you want, we're going to pass my singing around while I'm talking about this so you can look and play with it. The most important bone in a kit, and if you want, we're going to pass my singing around while I'm talking about this so you can look and play with it. So you can look and play with it. The most important bone in a kit, and if you want, we're going to pass my singing around while I'm talking about this so you can look and play with it. And don't worry, you can touch it and feel it, and if you don't want to feel it, just pass it on, okay? So the first important one is the cowrie shell, okay? And the reason why this is in here is because I have 4 of them in my set. But I just want to talk about the cowrie shell itself first, okay? Because cowrie shells are considered feminine because they look like a yoni. But also, they're associated with money because in Africa, cowrie shells were used to be a form of money exchange. So if you see a cowrie shell in a kit, it's also like has multiple meanings, just like herbs. Herbs have multiple meanings. Bones have multiple meanings as well. And I have 4 of these in my set. And you might ask, why 4? 4 is called Obi, which is another form of divination itself. Okay, so here's the cowrie shells. There's 4 of them. And so it's based on statistics, basically. So if the cowrie shell, and what these do is this answers yes or no questions. And a lot of times people who come to me for reading are like, I just need a yes or no answer for, am I going to get a raise? This is what I will go to. Is my husband cheating on me? This is what I go to, right? Because if they just want a yes and no answer, then that's what I go to, okay? And what it means is when the mouth is up, it's talking. It's saying yes, 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 yes. Because there's a mouth. So it can talk. So it's saying yes. If it's on the back, there's no mouth, so it can't talk. So that means a no. Okay, the smooth side is a no. The side with a mouth is a yes. So if I have 4 cowrie shells that are open, that means it's a definite yes. You're definitely going to get that raise. He's definitely cheating on you, unfortunately. Okay, but if there's like 3 yeses and then 1 no, that means it's still positive, but there might be like one thing you need to do before it can become a full yes. Does that make sense? Okay. Now if it's half and half, so if it's 2 open and 2 closed, that's a maybe. So that means it's still figuring its way. Okay. And then if it's like 3 no's and 1 yes, that is saying, okay, you probably need to do 3 steps before you can make it a yes. Does that make sense? And usually it means a clean, cleanse, and clear. Or a blockage, okay? There's usually a reason why, okay? And then if there are 4 on the back, that's just a hard no. So it's all based on statistics, basically, okay? So that's the first 4. So let's talk about the baculum, because everybody cracks up about the baculum. Now, kids, I'm sorry, but this is what's considered a raccoon penis bone. There's, I gotta be technical because that's what it is, okay? It's round, and it has it up like this. Now, in a reading, if something is in this little hoop, that's really important. You need to pay attention to that, okay? Because, like, if this has a blockage bone in it, or across it, to me that's saying it's blocked. Or someone's in your way, depending on what else is around it, if that makes any sense. This is the love, or also known as the love bone. The baculum is also known as the love bone. Okay, then I always have one big piece in my kit. And this is what I consider like the blockage piece. So if it's laying on top of something, it's saying that area is blocked. Okay? Now the symbol, The thimble is represents work. So you got to think work, and sometimes it means you need to sew shit together as well, or you need to mend things as well. And that can get really deep really quick, because it really depends what it is around. But usually it represents work. But sometimes depending on what's around it, it can mean like if it's around the healing thing, it'll be like if it's around the healing piece, to me that would mean okay, you need to work on your healing. Okay, so it's all about association and pieces, okay? And it's like reading a map, and I'll get more into that as I go. The other piece is the shell, and again, that's for healing, okay? Because you got to think of washing things away. So, like, if it's on one side, if it's on the open side, to me, that's saying, okay, you need to start putting more into it. You need to put more healing into it. You need to exercise more. You need to drink more water. You need to pour more into it. If it's on the flat side, it's saying, okay, you're good, but you still need some healing to be done. And it really depends on what's around it. Then I have like a little bitty skull bead. I know it's tiny, but what that represents is the ancestors. So that's really important because this is all about ancestor work, right? So, like, if this is what this is near, you really need to pay attention because that's saying your ancestors want you to pay attention to this spot right here. Now, what is this? Jawbone. Do you know the technical term? Mandible, right? Exactly. And the mandible, just like a jawbone, what do you think what do you think it would be for? Communication, right? Talk, because it's all about your mouth and what you're saying and what you're speaking and what you're saying. If it's on the teeth side, that means you're bickering or your words aren't being spoken well or things are bad, right? Because, and typically in my kit that's going around, there's 2 of these. So that it represents one person I'm doing the reading for and maybe the person who's involved with them. So if there's 2 of them with the pieces on the teeth, I'm like, oh, y'all are bickering. Or if it's one-on-one, I'll be like, oh, like he or she is being really rude and not using good words or abusive, where the other one might be smooth and not on its teeth, and the other one's more quiet and more okay. Does that make sense? Okay. Then I have a Shiva, which is like an old shell. On one side it has an eye, and the other side, you can't see it, but there's a spiral. Okay? So what that means is this is an area that you need to look into, that you need to look at it. And then if it's on the spiral side, that just means, okay, you need to really dig into this and look really deep into this because you're not seeing something, you're missing something. Okay?
What is that called again?
A Shiva. A shell. Yeah. Here, you want to see it? Okay. Okay. Then I have a key. Now, I love keys, so my key has to be special. But the key means basically, what do you think? To open a door, right? So if it's near something, if it's near your workpiece, remember the workpiece was the thimble. Whoops. Don't fall. Then you know, like, okay, a new opportunity is coming in for your work. You might need to open the door. If this is on top of it all, it's blocked, right? So it might be like, okay, let's do a blockbuster to open the door. and that will help remove it. Okay, so you can go open that door to that new job. Okay, and I see this a lot. Sometimes the cowrie shell gets stuck inside the thimble. That means you're getting a raise, or money's coming in, or things are like flowing in. Okay, so that's like, so a lot of times these combinations you can kind of find out as they're coming along, right? Okay, and I forgot to say this. If it's on top, if it lands like on top, that means your job is not going anywhere. Okay, if it lands on your side, that means, okay, things are flowing in, but they're not coming out. Like, you're kind of stuck. Okay, so like, I always prefer it like this or like this, where opportunities can pour in. Okay. Then I have a urgent piece, which is like a pointer. So it's used to point at areas of the reading that may be interested to you, or for the reader. And then I always have two pieces to represent people. Now the people pieces can be whatever you want. I use like a black stone for a male piece, and then a white stone for a white person. Some people use the worry dolls. Some people use. There's different representations of it, which are it's really interesting. And then I have a snakeskin bone. Now, what do you think this snakeskin stone means? Right, exactly. So, or it can mean like you need to shed some skin, literally, or resurrection, or healing, because snakes are really representing healing as well. So this can be like a lot of different things. So just think of a snake. Now, depending on where it is, it might be like, oh, you're fixing to get bitten, or you're being strangled, or you feel constricted, right? Because think of a python being constricted, right? So it all depends on what it's around. And then I have two dice. Now, I might set their bones, but for this, and this is just for timepieces. Sometimes it's month and day, and sometimes it's it's a day, week, or month usually. And sometimes they fly across, so like one will be over here in the love section, and one will be over here in the work section. This means like, oh, in one day you're going to get something about the work section, and then one day over here is what that is near. So just know, like, if they fly apart, they're supposed to fly apart. It just depends on what area they are in. And then I have a deer slice, and that represents the home. Okay, so that represents like hearth home. So you know, like, if anything around this lands near it, this is all about your home, your family. Oops, sorry. And then I always have a crystal in there, because people need a clarity. They might need a cleanse. They might need to. It might sometimes be for healing as well, especially if it's next to the snake skin. I'll be like, okay, you need to quit this old habit. You need to cleanse. You need to get rid of this habit. That sometimes happens, okay? And I never hold back. I'm a tell it as it is type of girl. And usually when I give a reading, there's always homework. Okay? And you might be going, oh, I don't want to do homework. then don't come to me as a reader, okay? 'Cause that's all I gotta say about that. But like, it might, like, if you're passing my thing around, the chicken bone might be there, and that might be is for to cleanse your space, because you gotta think of chickens, right? They scratch their coop, so they're cleansing. So it's all about cleansing. So if you get a chicken bone in a reading, then that's saying, oh, you need to cleanse your space. Now, if that's next to home, I'll be like, you need to cleanse your home. You need to cleanse, clear, and fill. Because it is not just 1 and 2. There's always 3 steps. And everybody forgets that. Everybody forgets to fill. Don't forget to fill. Because it's really important. There's always 3 steps in cleansing. Okay, so now that's like the basic, very basic, bare bones bone reading, okay? Now that you know the bones, sorry, we'll be right in the middle. Now we need to talk about the mat, okay? Because part of the setup for a bone reading, because now that we have the kit, now we need to talk about the setup, okay? So typically, if you're beginners, I say start with a white cloth. Why white? Hello, ancestors. Just like an ancestor altar, it should be a white cloth, especially if you're beginners. Now, I'm seasoned, so I don't need a white cloth. But I do keep my bone set on my ancestor altar, okay, to keep it charged and everything like that, okay? And that's really important. So if you have a set and it's just sitting in the box, you're missing a great opportunity. You really should have an ancestor altar where it should be kept on, because it's working with the ancestors, okay? And if you need help with that, me or Greg will be glad to help you with that, okay? And then you always need a glass of water. Why water? Because it's the conduit. And a lot of readers miss this mark, or beginner readers miss this, because it's not taught in the books. Okay, so this is a professional, seasoned tip, okay? You have to have a cup of water. Why? Because it's a conduit for spirits. And it helps you to get the messages in clear. Okay, because it helps the things come in clear. Now, this helps not only with bones. This helps with tarot, with runes, any type of divination. I would highly, 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 highly recommend having a glass of water. Okay, then also I always have a fire element. And the reason why is because if it flickers really high, the ancestors are like giving me an affirmation, saying, yes, you're correct. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, and then so that's the basic setup. You just need a white cloth, a glass of water, and the fire. Okay. Now, once you do start doing bone readings, you have to keep your bones clean. And so what I recommend is either Hoyt cologne, and unfortunately he's out, or Florida water. And if you're not familiar with Florida water, it's a great cleansing element.
Somebody bought the Hoyt Cologne company and decided not to make it anymore.
Oh.
Is that why you can find that anywhere?
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. So
if you have any, use it sparingly.
Yeah.
Gift it to anyone.
That's good to know. And I use this in my floor washes as well. If you're not using this in your floor washes, you're missing out, okay? And if you don't know what floor washes are, come talk to me. Or I'll do another class. Okay. So, okay, thank you. So this is the mat. Now, this is handmade. And the importance of the mat is that it should have I'm just going to put it on my chest because that's the best way to do it. It has to have an X. Okay? Like X marks the spot. So the center is the bullseye. So that's the most important part. Whatever lands on the bullseye is where the answer to the message, what the person is asking, is answered. Okay. Now, if it's in the other quadrants, it can depend on where it lands in the quadrants, or it can also depend on where the pieces land. So, like if this lands in this corner, I know this is about work. If the love bone lands over here, I know this is about love. If this is up here, I know this is about the healing. So it's all depends on the pieces, and it just takes experience to learn this, and to practice. And I always say, Michelle Jackson said, do this for a year before you read for others, because she wants you to know what the pieces are, how they lay, how they incorporate. When they're all bundled and just end up in a pile, that's the hardest part to read, because they're, my piece has over 100 pieces in it, and when they get in a pile, it's really hard to read. So a lot of times you're like, where do I start? Start from the very top and just work your way down. Okay, it's like an onion. You gotta work down. Okay, so I'm gonna. And I just want to say, if you need a reference, this is Michelle Jackson. She's one of my teachers that I did under, and this is Bone Shells and Curios, and this one's Throwing the Bones by Catherine Ironwood, Lucky Mojo. And then there's another book that I forgot to bring, which is Atlanta. Is it Moonfire? Thank you. And all three are actually good, but all three are completely different. Okay, this talks more about the history. This talks more about the pieces. So it's best to get all of them if you can, because each one has a specialty, a focus, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I just want to say, I have a lot of friends that are bone readers as well, and I just want to say, I'm not right. They're not wrong. Everybody is unique. Everybody's piece, everybody's set is unique, and it's important to just respect that, because everybody's story and path is different, and it's important to really respect that and honor that, because they're not wrong. They just learn differently or from a different path. Mine is very African based. Some people's are more Appalachian based or Louisiana based. And it all depends on who you've learned from, your influences, sometimes your ancestry. It all depends on that. So there's not a wrong way to do it. Just know, it's like your spirituality. No one here's spirituality is the same. Everyone is unique to them, and no one's right, and no one's wrong. It's unique to them. It's your spirituality, not theirs. So don't ever hear, oh, you're doing it wrong. You need to just kick them to the curb, okay? Because they don't have your back, right? Because they're actually the ones who are wrong. So is there any questions? Okay.
What was the third C? You got clean, cleanse, and
Fill.
So what happens when you put everyone has, you said, you put the love, you put the love bone, put it in the love section. Now put it in the work section. What does that mean?
Well, if it lands in the work section, that means that's the area that is about the work session, your work.
I mean, what if the one that signifies love falls on the work section?
Oh. like if it falls in the love section, is that what you mean? Okay, then that means it could mean like you're not doing what you love, depending on what it's, or you are doing what you love, or you need to do what you love. So, like in my set, I have a ring in mine that's made of bones. It's not always about marriage or love. It's sometimes about a commitment you made, or you need to wrap your head around something because it's literally a circle. Like you need to wrap your head around something. So don't take things and trust in your instincts because these are your pieces. So you can put your own meanings to these pieces. These are just the basics. This is like what you associate with it. Like, and I have some really weird pieces of mine that are unique to me and to my set. Like I have a high John piece, and most people do not have a high John piece in their set. And that represents like overcoming obstacles. Because if you know the story of the high John, it's all about overcoming obstacles. So, or I have a piece of red brick dust in my set. So, and to me that means that you need to do some protection work. Because like I said, you get homework every time you get a reading from me. So sometimes it's like, okay, you need to cleanse your space, you need to put up protections. Okay, your father says, he wants this or that, and you have to listen to that. Because it is a form of mediumship. So just know that, don't doubt the messages that you get. Because we're all connected to our ancestors. What was your question? Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
When you're doing a session, do you throw all of the pieces of or is it more like
I do, but I don't. Depending on what the question is. Sometimes I just take a handful and toss it. But typically I do the whole set. Sometimes it depends on how much time they want to have. Because I don't like doing timed readings. Because I hate being that person that watches the clock. I want to be able to give that person a full reading and not watch the clock. So I never do time readings. I just say a flat fee, and because I don't want to have to watch the clock. Okay, because it's just a personal choice. Most professionals have timepieces or timed sessions, and that's fine. It works for them. That's okay. This is my preference, my personal preference. Did you have another question? Hold on. Go ahead.
You said that your practice and the way you read is more African based. In the books that you recommended, or if you have any that are like come from Appalachia?
Atlanta Moon is more Appalachian, but she's more Louisiana side. But it's very similar to this. It's just some pieces are a little bit different and have some different meanings. But they're pretty much, there's certain, like these are the pieces that are in every set, pretty much. Okay. Anything else?
If you're going to do a yes or no question, do you throw one particular bone? Or do you
No, I do all the 4 cowrie shells.
4 calorie shells?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
And then, is it a lot like tarot? You know how some people do a tarot reading, they don't like what they get, so they keep picking cards, so they find something they like. How do you
You're not supposed to do that.
I know. You know how some people are.
Well, it does happen. Sometimes I do a reading and it just doesn't match. And I just pick it up and toss again. And sometimes that happens a lot, especially if I'm doing multiple readings. That happens. So like, because the ancestors kind of overlap a little bit. So I just shake it again and start reading. And then if it starts making sense, I'm like, okay, I know that message is for you.
Okay, so if you say you're hoping to get a job, and you throw the bones, because you're not going to get one for a while.
Yeah.
Then how long before you can throw it again to find out what the story is?
I recommend people getting a bone reading 4 times a year.
Okay.
And I base it on the seasons, basically. And the reason why is because Yes, a bone reading usually typically is for 6 months. Okay, so that's a typical thing, but things change too much. So I always recommend people at least 4 to 2 times a year if you can.
Cleansing your bones. Like,
Yeah.
After each use, what do you usually use?
I use the Hoyt or the Florida water. Yeah, and I usually use a spritzer and just spritz it so like all the pieces get.
Do you water down the Florida water at all, or do you
No,
have to worry about it degrading the bone at all?
No, bones are hardy. Yeah.
Yeah, so, what were the 4 circles around the big circle on the mat?
These are very specific to me.
Oh, okay.
But they do but some people do elementals like earth, air, fire, water. Um, these are very specific to me.
Thank you.
Where do you get your bones from? Do you collect them over time?
Almost all of mine have been given to me.
Oh.
If like my beginner set was given to me by my teacher. Then when I had Michelle Jackson's class, I got a set from her. Sometimes people who I've done readings for are like, I just feel like you need this piece. Like in my kit, there's a big cowrie shell, really big one, purple. And I was like, I need a family piece. And my best friend gave it to me. And so now that's my family piece. Or like, I've done some readings for some popular people. And they've given me pieces and I've added them to it. Was in Nashville. I was able to give him a reading at one point in time. So it's really, it can be really, it's just, I just love it so much. Any more questions? I'm sorry.
So we're going to start our own kit then. We're not going to wait for everybody to give us something. Can we buy a kit from you or from somewhere else?
I am going to coordinate with Papa G and have a yes. Look, it's a yes.
And if you tell them where.
There's going to be kits that provided for here soon. Okay, and I'm going to be a reader here soon. So like we're gonna grow together. Any other questions? Yeah.
You mentioned the number 21. Is 21 the numbers that pieces that you'll throw, or?
That's just the beginning kit because of the 21 divisions and yeah. Any other? Yeah.
Are there certain numbers that you need to kind of stay away from when you're collecting your pieces? Like if I have this number, maybe I should not throw until I collect more.
No, because usually the numbers mean something, and the sewing of the bones. This one is really good because she has a lot of numerology in this one. So this is really good for the numerology aspect of it.
I think she means if you only have 5 pieces, do you need to wait till you have 10 or 12? Or 5?
No, I take it literally. Like if it's 5, then it's 5. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody?
Who was throwing the bones?
Catherine Ironman. Yeah. Lucky Mojo. Oh, I don't know where my kid is. Oh, if I may. Thank you.
And you throw them for them. You don't let people.
Sometimes I'd let them pick a piece that represents them, and like sometimes in like a poly situation, there might be multiple people in the family, so I will say, okay, pick a piece for each person. Let me know who the person is, and I keep like a little book next to me, and make sure I write it because I'm very inclusive, and I think it's really important that everybody gets a reading. And so how I would sew it is like this. I put it, and this is just like a Africana basket, but some people use bags. Like I have a crown. Like I started out with a crown bag. Like no joke. I started out with a crown bag, and then some people use turtle shells, right? So like especially if it's big and it's be incorporated. So you just shake this, and then usually I say to the ancestor known and unknown, because some people are adopted and don't know their ancestors. So I make sure to say to the ancestors known and unknown. And then I would just toss it on the mat and see what is saying. Okay, like in this instance, the coffin, like we were talking about the coffin nail earlier, right? So that and to me, because it's right next to an Elegua piece, I would say that door's like nailed shut. You can't go through that door. Like so, and I would recommend maybe depending if it's, and then I would do like a yes or no confirmation. Can this be opened? Can this not be opened? Because some doors don't need to be opened, and some people are like, oh, how do I open the door? I was like, well, you should do a road opener, blockbuster, candle, stuff like that. But if not, sometimes that door should not be opened. So I always ask confirmation, and that's when I use the cowrick shells. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. Yeah.